Speaker. Okay, Mark, take it away.
Grazie mille. So, let me introduce one of my favorite people in the world, who is Jeffrey Cyphers Wright, who received his MFA after studying with Allen Ginsberg. Jeff is best known as a romantic poet. He's also a publisher, critic, eco-activist, impresario, filmmaker, puppeteer, and artist. He is the author of 19 books of verse, including Blue Lyre and Party Everywhere. His poems have appeared in many journals and anthologies, including the Cafe Review, New American Writing, the Brooklyn Rail, and contemporary surrealist and magic realist poetry. Jeff's latest work is a book of sonnets and artwork called Doppelgangster, which is available from Mad Hat Press. And Jeff also publishes Live Mag.
Hey, thank you, Mark. And Mark published that Doppelgangster, which is subtitled Reflections in a Funhouse Mirror. And Mark, some of you, well, there's a friend of yours over here has been waiting to see you. Who could it be? Oh, it's me, Mark. I miss you so much. Everybody, hello. It's been a long time, So I just have a little poem to send us off today. It's called Truth is Booty. Truth is booty and booty truth. That's all you need to know. Or my name is not Pinocchio. Oh, thank you, Rufus. We know your name's not Pinocchio. Pinocchio. No. Well, thank you, Rufus. Thank you, sir. You and John Keats hanging out together, huh? So this is called a little sonnet I wrote. The Devil's Doorbell. If I should fall, bear my banner to the club, my whole heart's cloth made of holes. Of loyalty, let me be your cocoa, not let peace reward us before hitting the dirt. The city, its eyes of glass winking at a naive sun, seethes with prophecy. Much strength surrounds our fragility, the eggshell holding up to pressure. Where the gig is a jig, we'll step out. Your job is to sweeten the pot. No point in pointing out your enemies in their gardens of Narcissus and Bane. Majesty of anonymity, be who you want. A vagabond bonding with shifting terrain. And now let me introduce our wonderful compadre from down under here, Cassandra. Hey, Cassandra, do you have a middle name? Have I asked you this before?
Yeah, I have a middle name. It's Lee, but then I think that makes me sound like a stripper, right? Cassandra Lee. Didn't they have that joke on Wayne's World? So I usually avoid it.
Okay. Cassandra Atherton is an award-winning. Oops. Sorry, I switched some equipment and now nothing's working. You know what I mean? I had to get the new Spectrum box. Okay, sorry. Cassandra Atherton is an award-winning prose poet, international expert on prose poetry, and her prose poetry is widely anthologized, and her work's been translated into Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. Cassandra's published more than 30 books and is currently writing a book of prose poetry on the Hiroshima Maidens with funding from the Australia Council and the Victorian government. Cassandra's her book is called Prose Poetry: An Introduction, and she co-edited the anthology of Australian prose poetry, and she's a professor of writing and literature in Melbourne, and she has a book about acrostics coming out from Princeton. Let's hear it from our friend Cassandra.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm going to read one of my Hiroshima poems. It's called Skin Pressing. I tell you it's nothing, but we both know it's the last of everything. A redacted redaction, a blank page, a black page, no page at all. I tell you it's nothing, but it's the final pressing of skin. We are incendiaries. We light up the bedroom in orange flame. You raze me to the ground. In the Hiroshima Peace Museum, I lose you in the theater of trauma. A fleshy keloid floats like a scaly tongue in a tank. You don't tell me it's the last time. You don't say anything. You stand in front of the mushroom cloud triptych, and I cut out my eyes. But the charcoal landscape resides in my sockets. I tell you it's nothing, but you've already gone. I would like to introduce Mark Vincennes. It's been a while. I'm sure you still all remember his bio, so please join in at the bits that you love and remember. Mark Vincennes is a poet, fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He's published many books of poetry, translations, and fiction, including more recently The Pearl Diver of Irun Mani, Spells for the Wicked, Ironclad, All the Tricks of Language with Dos Madres Press, No More Animal Poems, which I'm sure you've seen on Facebook and on the Amazon bestseller list from White Pine Press, and due out later this year, Mythodology with Chax Press. Mark is also a prolific translator and translates from the German, Romanian, Spanish, Icelandic, and French. He has published 12 books of translations, including An Audible Blue, Selected Poems 1963 to 2016 by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist, you know his name, Klaus Mertz, and it won the 2023 Massachusetts Book Prize for Translated Literature. His newest book of translations are In the House, Still Light by Klaus Mertz, released by White Pine Press, and with Romanian poet Marius Serliac, Mother's Letters, Pure Caviar by Ian Monoron. His own work has been translated into many languages, including Japanese, Chinese, Russian, French, Italian, Spanish, Romanian, Greek, German, and Icelandic. He is currently working on a novel entitled The Age of Occasions. Vincennes is editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. Here we go! He's lived all over the world, from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in Matilda Hospital on the Peak in Hong Kong, and he now lives on a farm in rural western Massachusetts overlooking Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain, Melville's inspiration for Moby Dick, where there are still more oblique banded longhorns, parsnip webworms, and postulated carrion beetles than 10-toed bipedal earthlings. Felt good to say it, Mark, and now we have to hear a wonderful poem.
Thank you, Cassandra. This is called 10 POWs, an imagining of those folk who are trying to survive in war. And it starts like this. Accountant. The accountant tallies the specific gravity of the communal sweat, calculating how much moisture the ministry can extract before the lungs collapse into dry, rattling husks. The fence is a column of figures he cannot close, an infinite row of vertical zeros in a ledger of wire, ensuring the sum of the disappeared remains perfectly flat. He audits the shivering of the man in the bunk above, measuring the frequency of the tremors against the clock to predict the exact hour the body becomes a liability. He writes the final balance sheet in the grease on his plate, accounting for the loss of his own name as a tax on the air, waiting for the total to hit bottom so he can close the books. Pianist. He is not playing a symphony. He is murdering the silence, hammering his fingers against the rough grain of a plank until the splinters act as the sharps and the flats. He listens to the wet, rhythmic hacking of the infirmary, sampling the coughs into a discordant arrangement that he hums to drown out the sound of his own stomach. There is no grace note in the winter, only the high, monotonous whine of the electric wire in the wind, a single agonizing C sharp that never resolves. He watches his fingernails turn the color of bruised plums, the slow decay of the tools he once used for beauty, now just 10 ragged edges for scraping the ice from the glass. Shoemaker. He does not mend boots, he mends the illusion of walking, stuffing the holes with the hair of the recently dead to stop the mud from kissing the open sores. The smell of wet dog and gangrene is his only medium, a pungent glue that he uses to seal the cracks in the leather until the footwear looks like something pulled from a bog. He hammers the rivets with a piece of broken tank, marrying the scrap of the war to the skin of the victim, anchoring the men to the very earth that is eating them. He knows the anatomy of a limp better than a mother's face, recognizing each prisoner by the specific drag of their heel, a ghost parade of friction moving through the gray. Weaver. She is plaiting a rope out of the unraveled threads of her sanity, using the lint from her pockets and the frayed edges of her hate to create a tether that won't snap when the cold sets in. It is a foul, greasy braid of wool and human sweat, a knot of memory that she tightens every single time a guard laughs, binding her rage into a physical weight she can swing. She does not dream of looms, she dreams of the friction of a garrote, the way a single well-placed string can turn a man's face the color of the evening sky. She counts the stitches like teeth in a predator's mouth, constructing a garment of silence so thick and heavy that no searchlight can ever hope to burn through it. Medic. He uses a sharpened spoon to debride the rot from a shin, humming a nursery rhyme to mask the sound of the scraping while the patient watches with eyes like boiled stones. There is no healing here, only the management of the stench, a desperate trade of tobacco for a handful of maggot silk to keep the infection from climbing toward the heart. He monitors the yellowing of the whites of their eyes, reading the liver's failure like a weather report written in the bile and the jaundice of the damned. He has forgotten the oaths. He only knows the triage of the dirt, deciding who gets the last bit of salt and who gets the silence, a god of the gutter holding a rusted needle. And I think I'll stop at this one. This is number 6, Signalman. But there are 10. He isn't waiting for a rescue. He is recording the static, interpreting the buzz of the searchlight as a series of insults hurled by a god who has gone blind from the glare. He taps a code into the hollow of a frozen pipe. Not a message from the outside, but a count of the flies that blacken the ceiling when the sun hits the barracks. He is the ear of the camp, tuned to the frequency of the rust, listening to the fence groan as the frost expands the barbs, translating the shriek of the metal into funereal march. He knows the exact pitch of a rifle being cocked in the dark, a dry, mechanical click that he archives in his mind, the only signal that actually means what it says. Thank you, guys.
All right. Now, I neglected to say earlier, this whole thing was about long news. And so we were just going to have the 2 editors come on and say a few things about this magazine that they resurrected and resuscitated and brought back to life after Barbara Henning had put it out years ago. And now it's back and they're up to issue number 3. And we're going to hear from some of the contributors. And thank you again, Mark and Lisa Roga. Lisa, are you muted? You okay?
Yes.
Wait, there you
No,
go.
I'm ready. Yeah, so hi everybody. I'm Lisa. Tony and I and Barbara conceived of this reincarnation of long news together. We were students of Barbara's at Long Island University a million years ago. And then we were, meeting with her friends and just kind of talking about poetry. And Barbara said, we should start a magazine. And Tony and I strongly agreed with that idea, and kind of looked back through old issues of long news. And we were inspired by that and decided to, make it a reincarnation of that original idea. I think it's kind of interesting to know that the phrase long news comes from this idea of poetry being news that stays new, that stays relevant. And that's been sort of for me, like a driving force behind the sort of like overall vision of the magazine. Yeah, I mean, it focuses on, we've pulled in a lot of different people from a lot of different places, but like people within our communities that we care about and want to hear their work. And another big thing about the magazine is that it's intergenerational. So we make a big effort to have different poets of different, ages and stages in their writing careers, and have them somewhere published together to recognize those lineages and those influences. That's all I'll say about it. But
Yeah.
I appreciate having us here. Do I intro Tony? Is that the plan? Okay. So my partner Tony, one of my old friends, he's a writer and a poet and an educator. Lives in Brooklyn, and he teaches at Kingsborough Community College. He's the author of 3 full-length poetry collections: Crisis Inquiry, From Ugly Duckling to the Addicts, from Spoit and Duyvil, and Shut Up Leaves, from United Artists.
Yeah, I don't have that much more to add, except that we've had 3 launch readings so far for all 3 issues, and they've been fantastic. But we actually, missed out in a way on the poets who are, for example, in Marseille, as Pavel is, or in Berkeley, as Jacob is. And so we thought anyways, it would be a great idea to do a Zoom reading for that reason, to include them, and to publicize their work and celebrate it. And so that was part of the impetus, and yeah, it's been great to edit the magazine for all the reasons Lisa discussed. Okay, that's very good. And then Lisa, we do have your bio here. I believe Mark has it. But in the meantime, anyway, that was nice to hear about that. Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody coming today. So we'll start off more or less in the order of the flyer. Jonathan Penton, by the way, down in New Orleans, sets that stuff up for us. And then John Westlake up there in New Hampshire is our tech guy today, as always. So Chris Tysh was born in Detroit. She's a poet and playwright, author of 12 books. Her latest publications are 26 Tears, co-authored with George Tish, from Blaze Vox, Derrida's Inn, Voice, Blaze Vox, and Hotel des Archives, a trilogy from Station Hill Press. Chris holds fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Kresge Foundation, as well as the Murray Jackson Creative Scholar in the Arts, an award from Wayne State University, where she teaches writing. And Chris is also the editor of Threefold, an Independent Arts Quarterly. And please welcome, glad to have Chris Tysh today representing Long News.
Thank you, Jeff. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I was just saying I was born in Paris. I have 2 nationalities. I'd like to read a few poems from a book that will appear probably later on this year. And the section I'm reading is an ekphrastic section on female visual artists. And the first one is about Elizabeth Murray, who was in a show at MoMA recently, a spectacular show. And the painting is called More Than You Know. Besides, everything turns green or red when you say the quiet part aloud, a sort of wild slide between the table legs, spread out like a stick figure off the wall, light yellow, some pinkish blue along the top, wobbly hint I read as rhetoric, trying to draw out this cérémonie des adieux. What happened here? Can you see me?
We can see you and hear you.
Oh, okay, because my screen is not showing the speaker view. I'll go to gallery. Okay. This one is in dialogue with the Cuban-American artist Ana Mendieta, who's known for her body earth kind of work called Silueta. Caught in a rehearsal of your own death, a sandy plot makes clear the imprint, drawn like a crime scene, where a naked body hugs close to some bloody dress, reach shroud. Adjacent, the epistemic blue, but a trace of your passing in this shallow grave. And this is about a painting by Lisa Yuskevach, who's a New York City artist. The Fuck You painting. Front matter in the key of Uncle Sam, I want you, except here it's all frothy pink, strawberry and cream on nails and cheekbones, sfumato effect that gives her eyes their hooded storm, a lighter blonde for the tip-up hair, bare throat between two middle fingers, raise echoic, theorize this, a-hole. And this next poem is in dialogue with the work by Michal Rovner, who is an Israeli artist who works in video, cinema, and photo. Having stripped every possible sign of life, not a twig or cloud in sight, she's left stranded on a desolate pale ribbon of land from the river to the sea, has a home and a dream, war gray jackals roam the shadows, Vedic video still to come. And the last one in the series is based on textile work by Sonia Delaunay, the French artist. Dress. Also known for a pleated book, I'd give the shirt off my back to just glide along its spine from Moscow to Lake Baikal and shake loose the color washes that now run tinge with lyric blue and green stripes like a Mandarin gown Maggie Chung might wear in the mood for love. And I'll read a few shovels, which is my other part of the book. The golden shovels are based on lines by Emily Dickinson. And the line in Dickinson runs, she dealt her pretty words like blades. And it's called Bitter Winter. When sister bonds go wobbly, she vanishes in school pleated skirt, dealt with the same way men react to her insuperable longing, that bitter winter, pretty much the same smell of sulfur and slurring words climb up their throats, while pen strokes look like a railing or balcony or tin roof made of blades. The line reads, there is no frigate like a book. This traverse made the poorest take. So 2 verses. Doubt Gate. You once told me after the Doubt Gate, there would be alarm bells between sessions when the body is acher than before, a quarrel of nerves with no English I can understand. Or was it an ink drawing of a frigate we saw through the narrow window, blurry lines like a weather map in an old notebook? Women's hands plunge into flower boxes, get stuck in this school of pain, same as ever. thin needles, traverse shoulder blades, nape, vestibular aqueduct, spine line may tremble inside this petty ship. Hard to explain, the poorest entrance, even less the last transport we meant to take. And just a few more. This is a famous verse by Emily Dickinson. My life had stood a loaded gun, none stirred the second time. Wild card. Almost overnight, the crowd swells around my crib, as if to say we've never known a palace life when sounds traveled the way a struggle bus had. Tethered horses in the field, gust of smoke stood close to the tail in question, an open suitcase loaded with contraband ciggies, underground tracks, long gone braced against the weather. To discern that none cast a shadow on their thoughts, capricious stir indistinguishable from a grimace, I was not a second late to extract the one wild card that rustles each time. And this last one, summer laid her simple hat on its boundless shelf. My poem is entitled Others' Chagrin. In my tulle skirt and sheer bustier, I eclipsed the summer gossip gone rogue, all tongues a dangle, and laid like tiny wings hovering in a tailspin. Already her disregard for rules and others' chagrin says adieu, simple boobs, it's time to collapse in my arms, or doff your hat when rising tones begin the morning practice on sun salutations. Flat back, I hold open its predictable arc, like vast lakes and boundless fireworks, trace pink roses over the sky shelf. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. It's always fun to hear poems with bustiers. That was some wonderful language in there. All right. Representing Long News, next is Rodney Betten, a poet who lives in Grand Rapids with his dog. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Pardon? Oh, Rodney Betten is a poet who lives in Grand Rapids with his dog, Fluffy. He has 2 adult children, and he plays a lot of pickleball, bikes a lot, walks his dog, which we'll find out, oh yeah, Fluffy, and writes. All right. Rodney, please welcome Rodney Betten.
Well, thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking Barbara Henning. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today. And I'd also like to thank Long News for publishing my work and for the organizers of this event. I'm happy to be here. And I'm going to read the poems that were published in Long News. The first one is called The Legacy of Leaves. Walking the terrain, counting syllables and steps, I'm moving in time, reciting my poems in the wind. I hear the applause of rustling leaves, hands in my pocket, kicking leaves against the curb, and I don't care. A day in the life. I remember the day well. Heaven was over the horizon. I was walking the dog on a stony path, and the blue brook was babbling bubbles. Not to mention, the major's mistress was married to a maritime marine, and the meek shall inherit the rent. Later in the afternoon, I was scaling the Empire State Building in my pink tights. That evening, I was planning on courting the grand green lady. You are statuette in your stately dress, I said, and asked her hand in marriage, and took her last name, Mrs. and Mr. Lady Liberty. If I may ad-lib, how liberating. I was working 300 jobs that day. I was the barber, air clipping hair, the bearded lady working the circuit. Meanwhile, I was moonlighting in moonshine as lazy clocks melted on storied rocks. The next one is called Newspaper. I was reading the newspaper like I was new to paper, fumbling, crinkling, popping, snapping, cracking, echoing throughout the store. I was sitting, embarrassingly, sipping coffee at Starbucks, a latte of some sort. My legs crossed, my thighs squeezed snug and tight. I'm secure. I'm happy in my slippers, slacks, and my corduroy sport coat. A fire is roaring. But where is my dog with my slippers, the newspaper, corncob pipe? Oh, right here. My feet in my slippers, my dog fast asleep at my side, corncob pipe. Light your smoke? Oh, yes. And here's the new paper. And then the next one is called Parallel. We were both walking on sidewalks, parallel to each other, with a road between us. His hair was short and coffered, mine long and wavy. He wore a navy sport coat and a white dress shirt. I wore a Harley Davidson jacket over a Motley Crue tee. He was in khaki slacks. I was in cut-off shorts. His shoes were polished. Mine were tinner. He swung a Bible. I was walking the dog. But he didn't see me in the 87 summer haze. The next one is Bildungsroman. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but that's the name of the poem. It's called It's a Western. Stratus clouds choke the sky like it's about to cry, sobbing like a baby while I struggle to saddle up one of the cattle. Is that the kettle I smell? Charring like old man Dutton's holy sock? I thought I was still dreaming. Here, pinch me, penny for your thoughts, as I wrestle that stubborn beast of burden. Best damn cattle for collateral, though. But I'm not about to settle until I retire to Seattle. Suddenly, I trip over a darn bucket, nearly lose my grip, spike my spurs, and grab my sombrero under old Betsy's udder. Where you going, young man? Out west? My old man yells from the outhouse. No, sir, I'm going wherever somewhere is. Somewhere's got the same green pastures as here. The aroma of the manure stinks the same, and so do the dames. Don't forget your summer wear and a raincoat to boot, because the sun ain't out shining somewhere. Well, then it's wherever or bust. You can't outrun a brewing storm. Even limousines don't move that fast, thundering and rattling your nerves like a rattler's. Rattlers got your fantasies by the balls. And the last one is a series of shorter ones. They're all entitled, or the title for all of them is called Naked Vignettes. New descending a staircase is like opening a drawer or yanking down a shade. It happens in a blur. I'm still not sure what I saw. In the cafe, I wore a bow tie, doffed my cap, sipped my coffee, talked, and gestured a bow. Sally was my first grade girlfriend. I showed her glossy new car brochures from my father's dealership, and I stood on a step stool to kiss her in the classroom bathroom. I remember Miss Scarlett's lingering scent after she grasped my wrist for misbehaving in Sunday school. Years ago on Halloween, a woman wore a negligee and her damp hair smelled like herbal essence shampoo. For the lava lamp, you form a triangle over your head. Fluid, smooth and groovy. Center your hips and twist from your fingertips to your toes, like descending a spiral staircase, and then up again, similar to ascending a swinging rope swing, down, up, like a lava lamp. I've had more than my share of regrets, but if somehow they led me to you, they add up to a lot less. I'm trying to be cheerful and grateful, and if that doesn't work, I identify and say the names of items in my environment. I point to the microwave and say, microwave. I hug my pillow, knees pulled up, TV on, and music over a miniature speaker, vodka on the nightstand, and it's 4:20 somewhere. The world is my oyster. Thank you.
Yeah, 420. I think it's 420 right now in Chicago. All right, Rodney, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right. Let's see now. Our next reader is Pavel. Pavel was born in 1986. Pavel Arseniev. Born in 1986 in Leningrad, he's an artist, poet, and theorist. Poems have been translated into, get ready, Mark, this is going to give you a run for his money here, English, German, French, Italian, Dutch, Danish, Finnish, Hebrew, Greek, Czech, Slovak, Polish, Bulgarian, and Romanian translations. Books into his work translated. Books of poems include Things That Won't Fit Inside Your Head, Colorless Green Ideas Sleep Furiously from Kraft in Moscow and St. Petersburg, Spasm of Accommodation by Commune Editions in Berkeley, and Reported Speech by Cicada Press in New York, among others. Let's hear it for Pavel Arseniev. We're glad you're here.
Good evening to everyone. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to Tony and Lisa for invitation and for Live Mac for broadcasting. I'm happy to be in this warm company, and I will read a few poems which are published in the last issue of Long News. And I think this is the first time I'm reading, let's say, in American context from 2019, exactly after last presentations of my bilingual edition. So, yeah. First text has a title, The Dissertation as a Psychophysiological Experience. I isolated myself a few years earlier, when it was not yet in the fashion, when it was still possible, run away from my native city, changed my craft, or more precisely stuck to one of them. Before I sought a belabored form of everything, now a simply form of whatever it may be, and whatever may come. Fill in the empty gaps yourselves, please. In everything, I try to avoid complications. I don't leave the city for months at a time, don't see anyone for weeks at a time, don't converse for entire days, and instead I understand now how to do it, how to fill out a bibliography, how to organize my time, how to eat properly, what you can even bother attempting, and what is worth trying to finish. I leave the house now rather rarely, to the library, where I don't spend much time on conversation with the living. I immediately set myself to the texts of so-called dead white men, turned off many of my functions long ago so that nothing would disturb me. In that life, at the high water mark, I always managed so much, but didn't leave to posterity any written indications. I select as a subject of inquiry only facts worthy of attention. I provide these my servers for calculations. Don't spend hardware capacity on secondary sources. I dedicate myself to making sense of what happened exactly at a certain time and among very certain people. I have objects from the past. I save objects from the past from not becoming it. Under full employment, without any payment, I decided not to fly on the holidays to the other side of the world, to at least sort out the documents in the far corner. And the world suddenly shrunk to the size of the room, perhaps never again to restore its previous dimensions. And the second poem has a title, The Present Message. Maybe I should give some commentary that this is a sort of a mystical text, because this expression, this formula, is pronounced most often by every emigre or rather exile so-called foreign agent, which is not exclusive mark of only Russian exile history. The notion existed also in American history and in the epoch. The present message. The present message is distributed by those who didn't suspect anything like this, and simply loved their motherland, went to work, and supported the foundations of the state order, or concerns those who didn't suspect anything like this, and simply loved their motherland, went to work, and supported the foundations of the state order. The present message is distributed by those who until the very last hoped that common sense would prevail and that the revolution would not be long in coming, or concern those who until the very last hoped that common sense would prevail and the revolution would not be long in coming. The present message is distributed by those who thought that the arrests of gays, migrants, and union members didn't concern them, but then there was no one left to stick up them. Or concern those who thought that the arrests of gays, migrants, and union members didn't concern them personally, but then there was no one left to stick up for them. The message is distributed by those who initially had no intentions of making any compromises at all, but then the symbolic capital, finally impossible to export, gradually forced them to turn a deaf ear and carry on, or concern those who initially had no intention of making any compromises at all, but then the symbolic capital, finally impossible to export, gradually forced them to turn a deaf ear and carry on. The present message is distributed by those who doesn't give a fuck at all and who just likes to have a drink with the friends, or concern those who doesn't give a fuck at all and who just likes to have a drink with their friends. The present message is distributed by part of that force which eternally desires evil but does good, or concerns part of that force which eternally desires evil but does good. The present message is distributed by that what's his name, or concerns that what's his name. The present message is distributed by those whom it didn't concern, or concern those who don't distribute it. The following message is not distributed by anyone and concerns no one. Thank you.
All right, like a manifesto, Pavel. That was wonderful. The force. Let's keep it there. That was pretty like fun. The theories going on there and the contradictions and the smoothing out harmonies. Let's see now. Our next reader here is Jacob Kahn, a poet and editor and curator living on the territory of Huichin within the homeland of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. I think that's near Berkeley or somewhere. We'll find out. And Jacob is the author of Mine Eclogue from Roof Books and the chapbook A is for Aegis from Double Cross Press, and co-founder along with Sophia Dahlin of Eyelet Press. Yes, he works as a librarian at Berkeley. I had read this public library. And let's hear it for Jacob. All right.
All right. Can you hear me? Is it nodding? I think I'm going to take these earbuds out because they also look so funny. So give me a second. Okay, can you hear me now?
I don't think we can hear you now.
Now it's changed. Okay. There we go. Sorry, I just don't want that look of the stupid things in my ears. My family makes fun of me enough for having them in too much, so can't have it be known by all the poets that I wear them all the time. This is some poems, a couple of which were published in Long News. Thank you so much, Lisa and Tony, for inviting me. yeah, I was bummed I couldn't make the New York readings. It looked so great for Long News, so this is a second pleasure. This was a poem called The Sky at Night. The sky at night, baby gem lettuce, professionals losing interest, the long afterlife of a shit, the long afterlife of a shit idea in Western thought, the short life of a Cara orange on the scale at Monterey Market, the lonely days of the Anaximander fragment I stole from Woolsey, when I close my eyes, buttons on a shirt. Hi, this message is for Jacob. This is Joyce at Sutter Health Plan on a recorded line. Callback number, phone number is 855-315-5800. Call reference number 109802050. Just calling to let you know your claim is processing for date of service 11/12/2024. And it could take 30 to 45 days, but it should be done soon. So if you have any questions, just let us know. Okay, bye-bye. 101 days later, nothing. Words, ceaseless arbitration, ads you can't skip, two hands making casserole, an unaffiliated group of people in a hotel lobby watching a football game, a slice of food being separated from the dish. It's been the same idea for 1,000 years, mesmerized by the sand and sea. Pump me up, I'll stare at anything like it's stars. Earth. Banana tells me to rub her back when I get to the toilet. She sits on my foot and sniffs the trash, mostly floss, hair, data about me and Karin. Evolving subtext. In the closet, the crate we brought her here in. Broadcast doves at the end of day, barely comprehensible like magnets snapping onto a video game console. My birding teacher, Denise, says every tree is its own neighborhood. The baby, Emily said, is 2 days old and still nameless. Maybe Oprah was acting, but she did seem visibly distressed. On behalf of all Americans, she kept asking, who? Who? This need to crown, with its suspiciously unifying logic. Is it unique to us here, to Earth? I love when kids say it with an F. Earth. These are some from Long News. They're a series of poems that I write right after bedtime, called bedtime poems. I have a small child. It's not my bedtime that I write them right after. Wiggle. Wiggle both toothbrushes between my teeth to get Arvo to take them. Bite just above the suction cup where the residues combine. Awake in the dream, and a small piece of arch flakes from my skull, right where it's just skin and hair. Still Gemini, January 2nd. The torments I know of and the torments I don't. Get milk before the store closes. Stop at the marina to stare on the water like Hart Crane, disbelievingly. English words clipped from French, so what? In the darkness, lights of cars ascending the bridge. Everything log-like in its final appearance. Fall, sun on long stems. Whose flat piano is that? The corner lot fills up. Petals catch a comb in hair. Flat morning fog. Why am I still so susceptible to sincerity and its cool deceptions? I only like when I write a good line. Typing it feels derivative. a few songs trapped inside a stuffed blue elephant in my head. In her cave dwelling, the cat. Later, I look into sun-smudged windows outside. Why? Because I'm high, for the first time in weeks. I put on gloves to pull a deadly plant from the walk our landlord didn't heed and scroll into nightfall. The recurrence of an undesirable condition, on the body or in it. Chimes. Neither of our bathroom lights are nice. One's too bright and one's too blue. Yet Arvo bathes in both. You can tell it's May, almost June. Gauzy motes of pollen are floating up market, bananas asleep on the bath mat. Cowardice on Bravo, clay on the Mavericks, and the voices cry out from small speakers about lessons unlearned at the age you least liked. Standing on a farm in the willow meadow, alone in the willow meadow. The ballads of fatalism, in they fly. Why do my lines always get so trellised? The car in front of us spritzing its windshield. What's your favorite thing about the library? A paycheck. Nature. A wine called Blue Nun. A redwood seed they put into orbit and planted at the Botanic Garden. The seed from which this tree sprang was taken to the moon. How do we break down these distinctions? Goslings on a lake and horses stood up, planned for in their obtuseness. What about all this did I once find, in a way I can no longer describe, nor even recognize, in myself and in the world, transcendent. Thank you. And yes, they still make Blue Nun. I recently saw it at the corner liquor store.
Yay. Thank you, Jacob. Here's to the Blue Nun. I don't think I've ever had, I was going to say egg
I
Blue
have.
Nun.
My friend told me about it. So it was a story he told, but it doesn't look very trustworthy, judging to the price.
Thank you. Those were fun poems. Just calling to let you know that poem too, right? Okay, and now our final reader for long news here. Before we go into our open reading section and hear from John, is Julie Ezelle-Patton. Julie is a poet and an artist. She is the author of Walking Through the Alphabet and Yet to Be Named, both from Nightboat Books recently. She's the co-editor with Michael Boone, Roberto Harrison, Nathaniel Mackey, Ruben Medina, Philip Metre, Nita Novino, Margaret Randall, Michael Rothenberg, Chris Stroffolino, and Anne Waldman of the great poetry anthology Resist Much, Obey Little, Inaugural Poems to the Resistance from Spite and Dival. Julie's work has been supported by the Foundation for the Contemporary Arts, among other organizations. She has taught workshops for the Cleveland Center for Contemporary Art, now called MoCA, the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied.
Hello.
Oh, wait, yeah. Hi, Julie. And there she is. Julie, are you in New York? Where are you?
Hello. I am nowhere, man.
Ah,
How are you? Hello, everybody. Hello, neighbors, friends. Good to see you. I just have an issue with turning into a figurine before I go live. Meaning, you understand? Meaning peace in hard times. I'm sure you are aware that a great neighbor to all neighboring organizations, and from New York City to California, the East Village, David Henderson has joined the ancestors. And so I've been thinking of him along with the sparrows outside. Do you hear that sound? You want to see where they are?
I can hear them at my house too, in the East Village. Yeah, let's see
They're
them.
somewhere out there. Oh, I would have to deal with this video thing and turn it around and do something like that. See, it's very green. It's here in Northeast Ohio. So, and then they're up there also. Birds. It's the time of the birds. We don't need to lose any more birds. In the conversations about David, the word wing keeps coming up. Also, the idea of winging him some prayers as a messenger in these times, threading this world with that, send light and love and peace and prayers. When I moved to 9th Street, David and I developed a pattern of late night walks, never before 10 on warm East Village leafy evenings. He'd walk me home. Generally, it would be midnight or 2 p.m. Seems I experienced many seasons and different reasons for hanging out with my brother and Challenger, but we'd still frequent Prana together, and he'd help me carry my bags home then. And he'd pout about one thing or another in between a sheepish grin, and that voice, soft and still crooning, I used to beg him to sing. Doo-wopper to the end, omnipresent friend. And then there was David, a Steve Cannon and father of tribes, David, health food stewarding, Mama, Lucas, Save, Pedro, Pietri, David of Viney Burrows, native New Yorkers both, shooting the breeze, poetry project, David, torn page, David and Goliath, David and Naropa and Waldman, Baraka David, Akila Oliver, and Oluchi David, Arts for Arts, poetry curating, David of Ornette Coleman, and Future Wise, 2nd Street, Kareem Jennings and Joe Overstreet, Ken Kelleher House, 2nd Street, David, 4th Street, Alex, David, Hammonds, David, so many Davids, Bowery, Sandra Payne, Bob Holman, art, music, literature, Umbra, Calvin Herndon, Lorenzo Thomas, teachers and writers, David, who along with Jean Lee taught a poetry and jazz curriculum in Harlem, that North Star, David, kid among kids, polished, ascotted, and smooth walking, talking, District 5, David, avid David, omnipresent friend David, doo-wopper David, and on to long news. I am only going to do 2 song sets per set. Do not know what the rest of the music may be like for the students and what I don't know. But there is one musician and the human voice and the rest of the world, improv, free flowing all the time. We make these patterns and a lot of music mustered, plans to manipulate words, sounds, blurbs from different angles, stages, stuff, dining, ding, 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 divining, ding, 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 rods, picking up the multiverse, trying for this sound and tone and letter, this play with word power, casting a spell to reverse all the BS spelling we get from depressed talking heads, workshops. Noise heightens the signal. Erica Hunt of Word and Music. Noise heightens the signal. Noise, 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 always. Always heightens the signal, said Erica Hunt once in a poetry project workshop. An experience which has me thinking of actually, for once, sticking to the page and not going off of it with filled hollers and shouts, hearkening back to voice, to eye, ear, inclinations. My father often says, "Ee!" You want to take off like a rocket? How to free language. Aw, don't give up on me yet. I'm going to read some short news. Crazy as it all seems, we'll tell all when we do finally get together, right, Barbara? Right, Chris? I hope you are all well. I can't help but stitch the now into the then. My computer is obviously unpunctual. It has punctuation instead. You punk. You punked up. You be punking people up. I'm so tired of these demons with the long tails plugging into me. I just don't know what to say. Back to the poem. Jolly Rotten. Not a poem, a letter. Jolly Rotten, B-S-A-G, soon, C-B's, G's, a C. VS Healing Aisle 6, sick, Bowery clown lights by a nose, how the neighborhood rolls, so it goes. All ailing, fable, saints. I feel like Dirk Bogarde leaning up against a wall. A death in Venice, the menace. One more. Dear Brad, I haven't been in contact of late, so sad. You'd think my art was wintering, brush or busted in the snow of petals, dogwood lilac conversation about the windy life we leave crisscrossing Tompkins Square Park. Wind next time we leave blown about, air muse sucks, returning calls. Oh, where's our little dogwood tree on a leash, a leap, a life of keys. Open the door, more friends, pin. Mention my name and see if I sprang. Breathe, breathe. Someone's at the door. Breathe. Answer it. Is Brad home or is he away? Bring a BS bass bass whipping case. Oh, the blues. War is Jules for crying out loud. She's beside me. Or wind away until she becomes who she isn't.
Yay, Julie, that was awesome. Oh my gosh. Grio at the door, that's who. And David. That was the most beautiful thing about David, and with his ascot, you had it nailed so well. That's a really historic, wonderful document. Aquila. All right, Julie Patton. And now,
You just muted yourself, Jeff. We can't hear.
Now, but
you didn't hear any of my good stuff?
no,
Nothing? All the stuff I said about Julie and David and
we heard that.
Aquila?
We heard that.
Little
Oh, you got
bit,
that part.
little.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I see. Thank you, Cassandra. Okay, ready, guys? So Lisa Regal is a poet and educator living in Brooklyn, New York. She's the author of La Belle Indifference. I guess it's La Belle Indifference from Cuneiform Press, Feed Me Weird Things from Ugly Duckling Press, Morning Ritual, United Artists Books, and The New Realities from Third Floor Apartment Press. Her writing has recently appeared in Copenhagen and The Great Hurricane Review from Jamie Jones. And Lisa is co-editor with Tony of editor of Long News Poetry and Poetics. Thank you so much for setting this up. And now that I've remembered kind of to do everything, Cassandra, you want to introduce John? I can do it. You ready?
Yeah, yeah,
John?
you go for it.
Okay. Hundreds of John Wessex poems and stories have appeared in journals such as the I-70 Review, New Verse News. Speaking of making the news, like long news, like news in the time, Patterson Literary Review, and Unlikely Stories. He's regional editor of the San Diego Poetry Annual and host of the Gelato East Fiction Open Mic, as well as the NAV Arts Poetry Reading. John's latest poetry collection is Rants of a Cranky Old Man, and he lives in Manchester, New Hampshire, and longs for gene editing to bring giant wombats back from extinction. Thank you, John, for putting us on the air. John Wessick.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So I think this new book has something to offend everyone, and this is called Lewd Act on a Child. The judge, the bench, the gleaming courthouse, its clean hallways and eloquent professionals, polite and neatly dressed. The doe-eyed man in the defendant's chair has a shaved head, mahogany skin, wears a brown Hugo Boss suit. Seeing him come and go as he pleases, you could mistake him for a millionaire. Gold watch, slender daughter, aged between girl and woman. This poem is a question. The state invites 50 jurors to this performance, only half RSVP. The others have already acted in sad dramas all too similar to this one. Who has the burden of proof? Can you convict on the word of one person? 12 are chosen. Blonde with a face not yet lined by maturity, the victim was once friends with the doe-eyed man's daughter. Even the judge winces when in tears, arms clamped over her chest, the victim says the doe-eyed man put his finger inside her. The doe-eyed man says, never happened. No physical evidence, only a recorded phone call. In the deliberation room, 11 jurors accelerate from zero to conviction in less than 7 seconds. Innocent until proven guilty, so out of fashion these days. I munch courtroom bagels while the foreman fuels the steamroller of peer pressure. At night, the tapeworm of rage gnaws my brain. Easier to find unicorns and lizard milk than a fair trial. Still, that suspicious phone call. Why would an adult tell a 14-year-old, I wish you were 18? The jury returns a conviction. Look at the victim's smile of vindication. Look at the doe-eyed man's impassive face. Look at his daughter grimace and wail. Now answer my fucking question.
Wow, that was a lot from you, John. So like, yeah, very, very noir in bits. I agree. The tapeworm of rage was a beautiful moment. But yeah, very stirring, very moving. Thank you so much. What a great way to begin. And now we have Mike Folds, who I'm excited is in his kind of futuristic background that he usually zooms in from. And I think he has a poem for us today. Mike, you're on mute. You got to unmute yourself.
Not automatic.
Excellent.
Okay, so from the Robot Quarry. This is called a survivalist's lament. The iconography of indifference plays out before us, in the air, on paper, in explosive content visited upon the unwilling to give up their ways, despite threat of annihilation by fat cats and imbeciles who don't serve, who do not deserve benefit of anyone's doubt. They will be remembered, if at all, for self-interest, more for self-interest than disinterest, in a moral authority greater than their own, in what's at hand, in an elevator when the doors close. What does the future hold when fuck becomes such a part of the vernacular that small children readily quip fuck you, than when leadership basks in the scatological, much as a baby ignored? We are to be vilified, but for not restoring reason through measures allowed by writ, subscribed to by oath, taken seriously for a moment, too often discarded and forgotten when the checks arrive, no matter the wreckage by which they were underwritten. Senators and congressfolk, yours is not a job to fear losing, but a privilege to reflect upon as you undertake what's offered few. Do it justice before collapse becomes your bedfellow and resistance to the fall ephemeral as lightning. That's all,
Wow.
folks.
Yeah. No, that was amazing. I love the moment where you talk about in an elevator where the doors close because it's so visual, but there's so much going on there with difference and indifference. It's a wonderful piece. I'm so glad you came to read it, Mike. You're always
Well, I'm
so
glad I finally made it because Jeff has been filling me in on dates and I out in the yard putting up stone walls and shit like that and
wow.
keep running late. So this is good. Thank you very much.
This is very good. This is very good. We love your poetry. We love you here, Mike.
Appreciate
Next,
it.
we have DeWitt, who's looking very sporty today. I feel like he should be in the Tour de France or something. But he's going to read something fantastic for us today. It could be a bit moving. I'm going to warn you about that. DeWitt.
Thank you. This is actually a longer poem called Every Breath, and I'm bumping in the middle of it. My oldest brother drove into a tree at age 74. Your brother is gone, his second wife told me. I visited them in Pierce, Colorado with my son. We'd stayed in Fort Collins and called ahead to be sure he felt well enough to see us. It retired from his active life with worsening COPD. Unlike our doctor brother, had never been a drinker, but had been a smoker. He kept their back door open for circulation while tethered to lengths of a breathing tube connected to an oxygen machine that he had modified to purify normal air. He still drove his pickup while breathing from a portable canister. We traded family stories and laughed together while he barely touched dinner. The next day, he drove us to a flatland shooting club where he'd built a girdered tower tall enough to anchor a dirigible. Clay pigeons were loaded from different levels and launched remotely in different directions. My son loved its challenge, despite the 12 gauges recoil, which bruised his shoulder. He also hit stationary targets, aiming straight-armed with a .22 pistol. And my brother, once sheriff of Pierce, bravely joined in, as did his wife, who, he said, was keeping me alive. That morning of his accident, he had told her to stay home. He needed to charge the truck's battery by driving around. He had his oxygen. Was it suicide? My sister and I think so. Specialists in Denver couldn't help his condition. drugs, therapies, and diets failed. He couldn't stand to be a burden, effectively smothering his wife. Town officials ruled his death otherwise. No witnesses. Likely he'd had a coughing fit, blacked out, and swerved at speed into the tree. His AARP life insurance would go to her along with house, truck, and other property, including guns, art, and heirloom. The mindfulness leader instructs me to breathe in, steadily, slowly, fill my lungs, hold, and breathe out. In MRIs, I draw and hold breath when my heart pounds. A series of pings stops. Breathe, machine voice orders. Before surgery, the anesthetist holds a mask to my face, instructs me to inhale and count. I've never made it past 3, then wake in recovery. Breathe against glass. Finger draw heart and watch it melt and vanish.
Wow. That takes our breath away, quite literally. It's incredible. I feel like I feel like I'm being squeezed. My chest is being squeezed. I think you write so beautifully about family and memoir, and I mean, it just makes me want to be like a member of your family so you can memorialize me one day because you just do it so beautifully. I can't think of a more beautiful way in poetry to deal with such tragedy. So thank you for sharing. I absolutely adore that poem.
Thank you.
We've had some sad ones, people. I mean, it's the beginning of the day here in Melbourne. Vicky, what have you got? Are you gonna like lift the tone? Are you gonna make us happy? Are we getting a sea shanty or are we getting something sad? I don't know.
Not sad, but not wildly happy either. It's a poem in 2 parts.
Mhm.
Let me just. Oops. I can't. Oh, there we are. Okay, it's called They Live in the Mirror. Part 1, Taking Stock. Babies and children and teenagers and adults. I'm embarrassed as I observe them, like looking for too long in a mirror. But isn't that where they live? I look away and back again, and there are always subtle changes. None of you are stable, and if you are constantly shape-shifting, then so must I be. Perhaps we're really made of plasticine, hundreds of matryoshka dolls, all nesting inside each other, all nesting inside me. I'm watching them with full attention and a strong sense of intimacy, some of them tiny shriveled things that might bloom into focus, or wither and die, leaving little imprint. I can only identify a few as I view them through misted glass. Is there any connection, any resonance? Part 2, the anatomy lesson. You can buy those food storage boxes where one fits inside the other, then one inside that, and again, and again, and again. So, with a blunt scalpel and tongs, I make an incision. Out comes the child, out comes the sex doll, then the idealist, then the feminist, then the old woman. I line you all up on the sofa facing me so that I can look at you while you sing your stories again and again and again, each one overlapping the other, making endless harmonies. Thank you.
Wow. Loved it. Loved the shape-shifting, but I also loved the question or the statement, perhaps we are really made of plasticine. That would be kind of cool. I love that idea. It's kind of very, but yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Vicky. It's so good to have you back. So glad to hear you're well again after a bug.
Thank you.
Kurt, we have you up next. What are you going to read us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Is the
Okay,
future so
good.
bright you have to wear shades?
Yeah, my studio lighting is so bright it's hurting my eyes actually because I'm in nighttime here. So, but
Yeah.
it's like really bright. Trying to translate Japanese. Her rose-colored sandalwood-smoked fingers, butterflied chopsticks landing on my table as the caught cliff edge of my left elbow, rough seed and flipped off my previous pair that had been arranged, the long, unpraying legs of a night-lacquered mantis, tips tinged green with cookie dough soft wasabi. What immutable murmurs have I lost?
Wow. I was like still looking at the cookie dough wasabi, and because I love wasabi, I put it on everything. Actually, I think I have some here on the table. But yeah, that was a great piece. I loved it. I want it longer though. I want more. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. We are going to end with our Bobsy twins. Cindy, badass poet, we need your poetry right now.
Okay, I'm going to read a poem called Love Poem. But be warned, it's not a sappy kind of, because you know me.
Yeah, it's never. I think we worked that out. Don't you have a book called The Carcinogenic Bride?
That's what the poem is from.
Oh, well, there we go.
Our own Bob did the beautiful collage on it. And that it came out in 2011. That's how old this is. But I've been tampering with this a little. Love poem. How did you slip so effortlessly into my shut canyon of a blue heart? How did you get through the gates of Cerberus, that snarling, three-headed dog? Well, now that you're here, bundle up, bring flowers, stay.
Oh, that's such a sin poem. We love it. We absolutely love it. And the only way we can end Lit Balm after the penultimate Cindy is with Bob, who's got a fan in his kitchen, people. I know we give much too attention to his backdrop, but you know, it's important that we look for the kitchen laureate, anything that might change. And yeah, we've got one last word in the open mic. Bob, and it's all yours.
Okay. Some new information.
Excellent.
Information. The game requires that they enter quietly. That there also be a woman and a spotted dog and a piece of fruit that can be used as a weapon. Each word spoken with another meaning than the one that is intended.
And that's how Bob does it. That's how he worms into our hearts with those little bits of information that will crop up during our day or in our dreams. And we think, what weapon could be made out of a piece of fruit? Thank you. It was so perfect, Bob. Absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Lots of weapons.
Back to Jeff and Mark.
Lots of weapons can be monetarized by a piece of fruit.
Excellent. And I do have to note that Ted's here in his car. Remember, we used to get Ted all the time in his car and we'd travel around with him. So he was in his car earlier today. So a shout out to Ted.
So, Jeff, any last words?
Yes, thank you. You know, it's so nice to see everybody again. And for Lit Balm now in 6 years, it's nice to be doing it again. And all the people who come to Lit Balm all the time and to see these people from all over the world. Thank you very much and hope to see you again soon. Good luck and God bless. And Mark, you have a final word for us? Thank you.
I do. I have a poem called Electrocuting Nights. An idiom is a thief, a fine mesh filter for man's burden of grief. The dead must be laughing on their heads, making wild displays in their earthly hackles to outshine the wrinkles of winter. Always summer, bold and blossoming. These are the moon's seeds, to mirror the joy of 1,000 seeds. What would it take to break into blossom, dear creature? Drop into your forehead and dwell for a while. Grasp your partner's wrist. Stroll the streets as nobody else. Turn and face each other. Thank you so much. Love you all. Much poetry, much beautiful love. And see you on the flip side.
Oh.